Welcome to our bonus book club where we've been reading Christopher Pike, Final Friends 1, The Party. It took a while to get to the party, but they had a party. I've got some very special guests, huge Christopher Pike fans. I'm just going to... John in a minute. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm so excited to talk about this, Christopher Pike. So good. Hi, Jessie.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Nerissa.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Right, missing John. I always forget who I've added in and then who I've forgotten. 1 second. John. There we go. Right, so I've sent that. Hi, Autumn. Happy birthday for tomorrow, Autumn. Oh, John.
I can't see either of you.
Oh, no, Nerissa.
Oh no.
It's like a glitch. Oh,
I know, it's annoying the first time Jessie
I
and
know.
I
How do I turn this around?
have spoken properly.
Yay!
Hello.
Oh,
Yay.
Can you see John, Nerissa?
No, I can literally
Oh no.
just see my own face.
Oh,
Oh
no.
no.
Press the X to go off it, and then I'll add you back in, and we'll see if that fixes it.
Okay, also the dog is wanting out, so...
No problem. Oh, pet dramas.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so I'm so excited to talk about Christopher Pike again. I know that John joined me last time to talk about Slumber Party, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah,
Oh,
gosh, that was
yeah.
Christmas time.
Was it like 2022 or something like that?
23, like 2023, I
Yeah,
think.
23, something like that. The years are blurring to one. Right, let me see if I can add Nerissa back in. Nerissa, hopefully then she might be able to see us. Hi, Melina. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I've got some different headphones. Any better?
Yeah, I can't see you, Shelley, but I can see...
That's
Oh
not a
no.
bad
Jessie and John.
No.
At least you can see Jessie and John. It's not a bad thing you can't see me, especially with the bags I've got under my eyes today. I'm very, very tired.
Yeah, it's still pretty early over here for me.
Oh, yeah, what time is it there? What time is
It's
it?
10 o'clock in the morning, so I'm
Oh.
drinking my coffee and getting extra perked up for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
So I've got some brilliant Super Pike fans, I'm calling you. And you're no strangers to our little Point Horror Book Club family. You've all been on like book chats, movie chats. Yeah, and you're just like really good friends. So thank you so much for being here. We have the lovely Nerissa, the brilliant Jessie, and the wonderful John joining us. Whoop, 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 whoop. And as mentioned, we're going to be chatting about this Christopher Pike book, which is the first book in a trilogy. I haven't read the other two books, but I'm really intrigued to read them, so I can't wait to read the other two now. So what we'll do, we'll try and keep spoilers to a minimum for the other books, but obviously if there's certain things without being too spoilery, that's fine.
I will absolutely do my best.
Yeah, same. Me too.
When you've read the other books, it's so hard, isn't it? Like not to like say things. But honestly, if something comes out, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. And also, just a few trigger warnings. There's some language in this book, some action, some views portrayed in the book that are outdated, a bit of a product of its time, I would say, for when it was written. We may touch upon them in the chat. It doesn't mean we're poking fun at them or necessarily agreeing. It's just good to chat about these things and see what everyone thinks. So, and I know the book was very hit and miss for some people, but that's the beauty of these chats, because we share all our thoughts, and then sometimes it even changes my mind on a book, and then I love it even more than I did in the first place. But it's a safe space to share what you think, no judgment. So, oh yeah, Matthew said we have to read 2 and 3. Yeah, we will do that, definitely. So the blurb for this one is: when Mesa High closed, more than half the students were sent to Tabb High. Among them are Jessica Hart and her best friend Sara Cantrell, Polly McCoy, and Polly's younger sister, who's only 15, Alice. So together they decide to have a get to know each other party. Sounds a bit dodgy to me, to be honest. But they invite
Don't make
dozens.
anything dodgy, Shelley.
Keys in a bowl. No, I'm joking. It wasn't that type of book. They invited dozens of people. So Michael Olson, shy as he is brilliant. Nick Grutler, powerful and insecure. Bill Skater, the handsome quarterback. Clair Hilrey, the gorgeous cheerleader. And Bubba, whom all the girls loved and hated.
I don't think anyone loved him. I really think Pike thought he was charming.
Yeah,
no.
Bubba. Oh
no. At no point through any of the books. No.
Oh, I'm channeling Bubba today, so I'm here for the party. Yeah, John and I had the right idea. That's right, exactly.
I've got my swim shorts on under this.
Okay, I was going to say I don't have my trunks on, but I'm here for the party.
It does look like you've got the same shirt on. I know it's slightly different, but yeah. So Bubba, I can see the resemblance.
Yeah, we're shopping for the same catalog as Bubba.
Yeah, 100, absolutely.
Oh yeah, a lot of sick faces for Bubba in the comments. Yeah. So some people came who weren't invited to the party, and the evening ends in horror. And most figured it was a suicide, but they figured wrong. Dum dum dum. So being
sorry, not having that James Spader.
Whoa, Bubba was a James Spader type
That is a
character.
bold statement. Yeah,
not having that James Spader. I mean, if you mean his character in Pretty in Pink, fine, but himself, let's not.
We should have done a fan cast, shouldn't we? We should have done that. But being fans of Pike, what drew you? I'm just interested. What drew you to his work, like back in the day, or what do you enjoy most about his books, even now, rereading them? Jessie?
I loved Christopher Pike because he was more mature than the other peer authors in his group. I really liked his stuff in like the mid to late 90s, and I discovered more stuff as an adult during COVID and quarantine, but the kind of the weird out there sci-fi, horror, metaphysical, like when he starts to get really weird and kind of woo-woo, that's kind of like peak Pike for me. I like the murder mysteries, but just kind of when he hit his stride in like the kind of the mid to late 90s, that was my favorite stuff of his.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely, you notice a shift, don't you, with his work?
He got weird and like just kind of religious and metaphysical, and he was talking about stuff that no teen authors were talking about, and just kind of giving you just sort of like a bigger picture and making his young readers sort of think about bigger ideas.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. How about you, John? You've been a fan for many, many years. What drew you to Pike initially?
It was just an accident. I was in the library and I saw Witch on the shelf, and like the sound at the back of the book. I was reading a lot of kind of teenage stuff at the time, but I was like everybody else. I kind of gradually moved on to people like Richard Lehman, Dean Koontz, Stephen King. But Pike, that one sounded interesting, and I really enjoyed it because it didn't feel like I was being talked down to. It felt like the fact that it was a book written for teenagers was kind of incidental. It was a book that I felt was a lot more, like Jessie said, more mature. There was kind of stuff in there that I'd never read in a teenage book, and it felt like somebody that kind of got me or got what it was like to be a teenager. And I just really enjoyed the story. And then I was so excited to discover that there was like 10 or more or so of those. I can't remember what year that was. And I just stuck with them and have read them ever since. So it was kind of purely by accident in the library one day. I like to think I would have found him anyway, but yeah, that's what kind of attracted me to, and just the fact that he just treated teenagers like actual people, and the books weren't patronizing in a way that a lot of the YA stuff at the time was. It was kind of branded and had stickers on it, YA and YA plus and all this. They weren't done like that, which I think was a nice thing.
So
and they were obviously branded as well to look a little bit scary, a little bit more grown up, to get that that audience in. So yeah, that's why I like Pike.
Yeah, I like that. And how about you, Nerissa?
How did I first discover him? My sister borrowed Remember Me from the library.
Oh,
With like the original UK cover where she's
yeah,
on pavement and there's like her spirit leaving. And
yeah.
I remember seeing it and being like, oh, that looks cool. And then I remember going into the library. I was saying to John earlier, I must have only been about 8. And I saw, like, you know, on like the twirly displays that you can
Oh,
spin around,
yeah,
I saw the party. And I was a bit like,
yeah,
I don't know what it was, but there was something about that cover. And I was just like, I'm
yeah.
reading that when I'm old enough. And then,
Oh, I love
and
that.
like, I did read a couple of point horrors. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I read The Witness, also known as I Saw You That Night, and I was so pissed off that I was like, F this, I am moving on to Pike. And
Yeah,
that was it. And yeah, I really loved that. Yeah, it just opened my eyes to like
yeah,
narratively different things that could be done. I was
yeah.
speaking to Jessie about it. I Can Remember Me. The narrator is a ghost. In Give Me a Kiss, I know people have issues with it. I love it.
That's one of my favourite Pikes. Give
I
me a
love it.
kiss because it's just outrageous.
But that introduced me to like non-linear storytelling, and then also just like he introduced such interesting ideas, existential ideas, and yeah, so it's just and just love a pulpy wild ride.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it was just
same.
yeah.
And I think I was a little bit late to Pike. I think I read a couple as a teen, but then I didn't discover him until a little bit later. Because I think I went straight from like point horror straight, obviously, into Stephen King. So I feel like I missed a gap somewhere. But I know somewhere along the line, I definitely read Give Me a Kiss, and a couple of others. So I feel like I'm filling in my gaps now I'm older out of Pike. So which I'm thoroughly enjoying doing. So yeah, I'm enjoying discovering some books. Sometimes I read them and I think, oh yeah, I remember reading this one now, but I don't necessarily connect it to when I was younger. So I must have read it at some point. But this one I hadn't read before, so this was a whole new kettle of fish for me on this one. I saw that Autumn said about the characters and The Rock, not to be confused with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Definitely not. Matthew said, yes, I meant his character with regards to James Spader. Sharon said, I loathed the book. I struggled to finish it. Don't think Pike is for me. I was too old for him first time round, so no nostalgia for me. Because that's it. There's kind of a nostalgia link, isn't there, with Pike as well? And he's so like divisive, and there's like hit and miss, but that's what I love about him. I love how someone's favourite is someone else's worst book, and it's just amazing, really, if you think about it, with the range that he's got. And I kind of love that. April said, yeah, even though I was young, I was always afraid of death, and Pike explored that in later books that I felt comforted by. Yeah, that's true. Sharon said Layman does pulpy B-movie over sexualized, better and more deprived. Layman, yeah, I've read a couple of Layman with his rumps. Had to be said. Karen said, I love a good accidental book find that changes your brain chemistry forever. That's so true. Matthew said, these kids were real, I thought, real to the other teens I knew in 1988 and remember. That's another thing, isn't it, about Pike? He does write good teen characters. Sometimes the girl characters, for me, I have to say, like, I think, like, only sometimes, like I know in Slumber Party, there was a bit, but I guess he's making them as bitchy as he can in Slumber Party. But yeah, sometimes the girl characters, I just think he edges a little bit too far on the brink for me sometimes. But I still enjoy it. Sharon said, I really love Monster, which Nerissa recommended.
Best Pike book. That's
Yes,
definitely his
same.
best.
Yep.
Definitely his best.
Agreed.
Definitely his best.
And
we need.
Yeah, if I'd read
yeah.
that, I wasn't attracted to that one as a teen, and to be honest, I'm glad, because I don't think I would have appreciated it. But read it, like Jessie said, when you're like locked down and everything, when you're like discovering more, and it's fantastic, absolutely brilliant.
Okay. I still haven't read that one, so I need to read that one, definitely. Claire said Love Monster, that was my first Pike. Matthew said this was his first Christopher Pike book, the Party, so introduction to Christopher Pike. And Autumn said I still need to read Monster. Jessie recommended it to me. Oh, maybe I might have to do Monster then, definitely. Oh, Melina said I think it's the way he writes girls that makes Melina feel uncomfortable. Yeah, just sometimes it just comes across a bit strange, but I still enjoy these books. So in this one then, so Pike takes a good 3/4 of the book to introduce us to the characters. We get a lot of character development. There's 14 characters or something like that altogether. And they're all with typical different tropes. But considering there's so many characters, I feel like you knew which ones were which. I didn't get confused at all. So obviously he's setting up the various dynamics between them. So were you a fan of this kind of contemporary YA Pike for the first 3/4 of the book, John?
Yeah, I read this book when I was trying to work out. I think I was 15 when I first read it, and I'm 49 now, so it was 34 years ago, and it was the first time I'd gone back to it. And I think in my head, it didn't make much of an impression on me in terms of, because when you said, "Oh, we're going to do that," one, I was like, well, that's not actually my favorite Pike. But actually, when I reread it, I think I appreciated it more now than I did when I was younger. But like Jessie said, he went off and did so much more other stuff that kind of, I think, eclipsed these kind of straightforward thrillers that he started his career doing. The first few of his books had no real supernatural element at all to them, and they were simply murder mysteries. So I actually enjoyed the kind of setup with this one, that he was able to take his time a little bit and flesh these characters out. And it's kind of interesting because I've read the other two, so I know kind of where it's going. And so I see a lot of the comments I saw when people were talking about the sort of setup of this book and the style and the linear style of it. People were kind of like, oh, not a lot happens. But actually, you go back and you realize then an awful lot happens in this book that you don't realize is happening kind of right in front of you. He layers this actually really, really well.
No, I was just going to say, whatever, I completely understand where people find fault with it, but when it comes to the actual mystery, he has plotted everything perfectly.
Oh, wow.
And when you get to the conclusion, every little thing ties up.
Really?
From what I recall, I don't think there's anything where I'm like, oh, what about that?
That makes me excited to read the other two, just to see where that goes. Oh, I love that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, John. I was agreeing with you.
You're absolutely right. The stuff that's kind of planted in this, it is a bit of a slog, and I can understand people kind of giving up. This is not going anywhere. It feels like there's nothing happening. But it's that time of getting to know the characters, or getting to hate the characters even. That kind of makes the payoff when we get to the party, because then suddenly, I don't know if anyone else felt that, but I suddenly felt the pace the book kind of went like this, and then at the party goes like that. Suddenly there's an awful lot happening in a lot of time. And you really have to have your wits about you to start remembering the relationships, remembering how everyone got to that point. Because then in the last few pages, obviously you're trying to plot this out in your head and work out the path that Nick took. So suddenly it starts in a heartbeat. It goes from this very linear kind of almost, it's the most Fear Street, I think, of the books that he wrote. It felt very high school. There was virtually no adults in it. The adults who were in it were dopes. And so it felt this kind of linear high school story right up until kind of the last few pages, when I think the party takes up the last 30 pages or so of the book. And it really kicks into gear then. So I can understand people having issues with it, but I actually really enjoyed it the second time around.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the fact as well that at the end you got a map. I mean, I'm a big fan of a map, but at the end you got a map, and that night when I got to the map section, I actually thought, oh, I'm going to go back, and I reread the start of the party so I could picture where everyone was, and I was like, oh, can I suss it out before I read the other 2 books? That is the question.
Let us know if you do, Shelley.
What I'll do at the end of the chat, I'll tell you like who I think it is, and then we'll see how wrong I am when I reread the others. How about you, Jessie?
So I will admit, not my favorite of his, but I really did appreciate going back and revisiting this. I think it does work really as the first book in a trilogy. You need to read the other 2 for it to really all gel and to bring everything full circle. This is great. He's setting up his chessboard in the first book. So you really have to get through that. The one thing it did remind me of, especially since we've been revisiting a lot of the point horror and some of these books from the late 80s, is that a lot of stuff didn't happen in any of these books until the last, third or, last however many pages. That's when you're going to get all your action, your big twist, your murder, what have you. I mean, even in some of those Fear Street books too, nothing really happens until, like the last chunk of the book. So, and it's great. And again, what John was saying earlier, he doesn't talk down to his readers. These felt like teenagers. I mean, this is how rich white kids from Orange County would talk in the late 80s. They would be racist and homophobic. And, I mean, these teenagers are real to me. I mean, these remind me of kids that I grew up with.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And how about you, Nerissa? Do you like that YA like contemporary style to start with?
Yeah, like when I started, like I was much more into like the mystery thriller stuff. It's that was very much the sort of thing. I went from mystery books onto point horror and Pike. And I really enjoyed it. I just remember just engaging. I was just engaged with the characters. And I saw a couple of people saying about, maybe it's better to read it in one block. And I did. I don't know how long I left between them because I can absolutely remember when I bought them. It was like December 99. I got birthday, Christmas money. I was at the Newcastle Waterstones, and I had enough of 4 books, and so I bought the Final Friends trilogy and Give Me a Kiss. I'd already read Give Me a Kiss, but I hadn't read to the others, and I was like, I've always wanted to read these, and I got them. So I think I probably read them in quick succession. So
okay. I made a mistake not doing all 3.
Maybe that added to. Sorry, I've got a bit of brain fog. The past few days.
I've been like that all day today. This morning, I tripped over my husband's shoes while I was trying to get a towel to have a shower, and I fell right on the fan, broke my nail. I'm having a really bad day. So it was. I pulled all my sides. So anyway, I'm having one of those days as well.
I think what I was trying to say is like, so people who were like, oh, this didn't kind of work for me, but it's like it is very much part one of a story. So, and I didn't have that weight, so I just went straight. So for me, it just worked as one long story, I guess.
I think the other thing to mention as well, and remember, is that it was published in the US in 1988, and we didn't get it in the UK till 1991.
That's true.
The first pub date was 1991, so we'd moved out of the 80s by the time that turned up here. I mean, I always say that the 1990s didn't really actually feel like they started until about 1992, so 1991 probably still felt a little bit like the 80s.
Yeah.
But there was a bit of a gap between when this was first published in the US and when he would have written it and when it finally appeared in the UK. So that maybe had a different impact on the way that for us in the UK viewed it, because again, it was one of those stories where I was like so entranced with this idea that they were rich and they had cars and they they had houses with like long driveways and pools and all this kind of stuff. That was just amazing to me. And so I think maybe the publication dates between the US and the UK might have played some part in what the sort of impact it had on people.
Yeah, that's so true. And do you think, like, I know I was talking to John about this last night. So do you think obviously you know the other two books and I don't, but do you think he wrote this as a trilogy, or do you think he just got told to cut one long book down, John?
I think by this point in his career, he was selling enough that he would be able to say, no, this is what I want to do. And as I said, Chain Letter before that had sold like, 1.5 million copies or something. He was big deal by that point, and this was obviously a real departure from what he'd done before. So I think he planned it in a trilogy, and when you read the 3 books, you can see how he layers this whole thing. And yeah, I think it was definitely planned in that way, because each book is definitely its own beast. So pieces from book 1 pay off in book 2, but then pieces in book 1 that also pay off in book 2 still ripple in book 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get, without any kind of spoiler, there's a scene where Russ is trying to chop down a tree with an axe. And you kind of you read that and you think, oh god, that's just a bit random. It's kind of funny because actually, there's a bit of funny dialogue with him and Polly. But that actually isn't inconsequential. It does have payoffs later, not in any way that you'd expect. But so he's, like Jessie was saying, he plans it so meticulously. Each one is kind of its own thing. So you can read them all in, that they all feel like a standalone book, but kind of an interconnected story. So yeah, I think he was definitely big enough by that point to say, yeah, I'm writing a trilogy.
Yeah. Do you think the same, Nerissa? He was definitely intentionally wrote it as 3 separate books.
Absolutely. Just with everything that goes on. And I know obviously he's done a lot of thriller, kind of horror sort of stuff. But I apologize that I can't remember who this was. But I said to someone, it's a bit more of a coming of age.
Yeah.
But with the mystery, it's much more character driven.
Yeah, definitely.
Than other ones. And like John said, and like we said earlier, every single thing that seems random, like, okay, that was a weird little bit.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's my front door bell.
So who's
sorry,
here?
I forgot to D&D the Alexa. It's Bubba. He's here.
Bubba, taking you out.
Yeah.
Every single thing ties in, and like, granted, like I said, I probably read them all close together, so I hadn't had time to sort of forget bits.
Yeah.
But it's like even stuff that you're like, that's just at the back of your mind.
Yeah.
When you get to the conclusion, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It is really well plotted with regards to tying up a mystery. That is, whatever fault you find with it, I think that is something that can't be followed.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely intended to be a trilogy.
Oh, okay. And you think the same, Jessie? It was definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. That 3rd book really pays off. It's my favorite in the series because that's where everything culminates. That's where you get all of your action and all of your third act. I mean, it's the 3rd act of the story, but absolutely planned as a trilogy.
Yeah.
So when it came out in the UK, it came out all 3 at the same time. Is that how it was? Oh, you still got it like in a serialized format, or did they publish all 3 at the same time, or did you still have to wait?
Yeah, they published it kind of slightly randomly, and what I was doing a bit of research on the pub dates, and because they're always a little bit difficult to kind of pin down this this far down the line. But I think the first one came out in kind of late 1991, perhaps.
Okay.
And some of the publication dates indicate that the 3rd one didn't come out till early 93, but I don't think that's necessarily correct. But I do remember that they weren't out altogether. They didn't just come out in one block. Pike wasn't published as regularly as Point Horror was. They would have got you would have got 3 or 4, maybe 5 a year, maybe. As I recall, the publication schedule wasn't quite so hectic, so there was a wait between the 3, but they did come out kind of very reasonably close together. There wasn't like a year wait between each one, as I recall. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Oh, okay. Oh, a
I
little
was
nugget of
thinking of
information
today that I
there.
could get them all at once.
Yeah.
Just looking at some comments. So Jason said Monster is excellent. So I'm definitely going to have to read that or do that for the book club at some point. Karen said, I have a whole pile of Pike's books that Nerissa decluttered into my library. So I have lots of good reads ahead. Yay! Matthew said his character list filled an oversized index card.
Oh my gosh, my notepad, you guys,
Yes.
So many.
just for the character descriptions alone. Yeah.
I was really lucky because Nerissa had written down like the characters for me. It was
Oh,
brilliant.
fantastic.
Nerissa, it was so helpful, honestly. Cause otherwise, you know what I'm like. I would have got well confused. But
No,
actually,
immediately when you posted you doing this book, I was like, she's going to need a character
she's gonna
guide.
need it. Yeah. Nerissa knows
Of
me
course,
well.
it was the fact that
Never
I
mind
didn't
it. Never mind
need
the
to look
diagram
at
of
the
the
book.
house.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Nerissa did it from memory as well. Like,
Oh
that's
my gosh.
genius. Just a round of applause for Nerissa. Honestly, I was super impressed, and it was like spot on as well. It was brilliant, and it really did help me. So I appreciated it. Lisa said, I really enjoyed the character building in the book. You can see this book builds for bigger things to come. I've not read the other two, but I've just ordered them. Ah, brilliant. Autumn said, yeah, that makes me super excited to read the next two as well. I did find this one to be a bit of a slog. I figured it was just character building for the next two. Oh, brilliant. Sharon said, yeah, perhaps it's best to read as a trilogy. Definitely. Claire said, I wasn't sure on this one initially. It took a while, but the little glimpses from Michael's dreams and Alice's character made me want to read on. Yeah, that was so good. So talking about Michael then, so obviously we've got a budding romance in there between Jessica and Michael. Were you a fan of them? Do you ship them? Is that what all the cool kids say? No. Okay.
No.
Jessie, you didn't.
Well,
isn't
she going after Bill at the same time too? Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of this is going to pay off. So, do you ship them by the end of the trilogy? Maybe, but do I ship them in the first book? No, because in true teenage fashion, none of them know what they want. They don't know how to communicate with each other. You know, there's just confusion about who likes who. And I haven't read them in a while, but this kind of felt like almost like a Sweet Valley High thing too, where you're just kind of like the teen drama, all of all of those Sweet Valley High characters. It just very much was kind of a sort of a soapy teen drama on that side of things. And then you're going to get a little bit of Pike. Then you're going to get your murder. But again, it's all of these kids that just don't know what they want.
And I really liked, just talking about like the payoff at the end, I meant to say earlier, I really liked like the little glimpses, like when they're at the game, and I think Michael references, oh, I wish I'd done in hindsight or something, I wish I'd done this now I know what happens. And like there's these little teasers to the end as well that kind of carried me through as well, just like little subtle things. I thought. How about you, Nerissa? Did you like Jessica and Michael together, or are they just like, no?
Do you know what? Go to John first.
John! John!
I'm in the minority on everything on this book.
Go, John!
No, I didn't. Didn't like them together in this, but I mean, I think Michael's a bit of a wet wipe. I don't really like him very much. He's a bit of a dweeb. He's a bit like, if you've got to start trying to take dating advice from like Bubba and like hanging off at every word, just to try and get Jessica. And he just spends so long dithering about it. It's like, no, but then, Jessica as well slightly got on my nerves a little bit as well. So in some respects, yeah, they kind of were suited to each other, but then for some reason, like I just said, towards the last half of the book, she suddenly starts chasing after Bill. Like, she starts seeing Michael, she's sitting with Bill at lunch, and I'm like, hang on, girl, you've been hanging off Michael. Well, but she's obviously still not over him.
The third week of school.
She's like, oh, she's not over him. I'm like, what are you? She's just ping ponging between these spells. Like, make up your mind. Yeah, I just like, yeah, but it was it was very sort of teenager, you know, so all these kind of kids kind of like drooling over each other and like tongue hanging out over each other. And yeah, I kind of get it. But yeah, as Jessie was saying, maybe, you know, in the later books, you kind of feel that there was probably slightly more chemistry there that felt authentic. Whereas in this one, I felt like Alice felt like they would get on and they kind of felt obligated to get on a little bit, whereas maybe they weren't initially so great suited for each other. But no, I wasn't a big fan of those two.
Oh, okay. Nerissa? Are we shipping them, Nerissa? Because I feel like we're like the same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I like them together.
Right. I get where you guys are coming from. But what I would say is
they did a slow burn, didn't they, with them, I think. Slow burn romance.
Maybe not quite that, but well, because it's only a few weeks, but it's kind of like
romance.
She like sees Bill and it's like, oh, he's hot, he's nice, I like the look of him.
Yeah.
But with Michael, she meets Michael and she's like, oh, he's a nice guy and he's really smart. The thing is, for me, it feels like she thinks she's not good enough for Michael.
Yeah. Like,
that's what it is.
She's like, he's clever and like things like that, don't they? So maybe she thinks she's not.
Something
I get that.
Like she thinks she's not good enough for him, but I think she's just like, oh, this. I don't think she's playing them off. I don't think she initially sees it as a romantic thing. She's just like,
saw him as friends, didn't she? Initially?
Yeah, and sort of like, oh, but then I'm not good at, like, he's really smart. I'm like a bit spoiled and stuff. And like after something I loved is when they get back from their date, the disastrous. Well, it wasn't even a date. It was like, thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
Chemistry and stuff. When you get like both perspectives of how vastly they're misinterpreting each other's actions and how completely understandable it is that they misinterpret them. I get where you guys are coming from, but I wholly disagree.
You get kind of like a rom-com feel from them, in my opinion. Like this to-ing and throwing, and then
which could have easily been sorted. Like Alice just coming out and saying it, like, you know, she's, oh, I'll tell you. Who's a trying one to me? Oh, I'll tell you after the date. It's like, just tell him. Just say that it's Michael. Just tell her that it's Michael that you're trying to set her up with. You know, this could have all been avoided.
Yeah, no, that's true. Matthew said, I loved the character development. We got to see all the good, but a little of the bad in each character, and that made them relatable and understandable. So we did get quite a few, like, character arcs. We really learned a lot about the characters. So whose story or arc intrigued you the most, Jessie?
You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say I really liked Nick and Maria. I'm really I'm really rooting for them. Just not only because there are only diverse characters in the story, but they feel kind of like the underdogs, especially Nick. And I really like reading kind of Nick's development and journey from the start of the first book to the end, where he and Maria go out. And I really ship them. I thought their kind of date and everything was cute. The squirting of the orange in the eye, all of that really works for me. That was more like of a rom-commy, teen soapy thing to me. Yeah, so I really like that a lot. So those are the two that I ship. The other one who I actually really liked a lot too is Sarah, just because Sarah's kind of a bitch and and tells it like it is. So gotta love her. Gotta love a character like her as well.
Oh yeah, she just spoke her mind. She
does.
Came out.
Student body president, you know.
Oh, I love that. How about you, John? Whose character arc did you like the most?
Another vote for Nick. I thought he was, of all the kids, I thought he was definitely the most well developed. Uh, I thought they laboured the fact that he was black quite a lot, and I think we talked about this yesterday. You know, he was every single time he's in a room, it's mentioned that he's black, and
it's
that
mentioned a
kind of.
lot.
Initially, I kind of was a bit worried that that was going to be his defining characteristic, just being black. But actually, he turned into a very, very interesting character, and I thought it was a really, really good choice for him to be the person at the end in the party that discovers Alice, because there's a great scene in it where he's in the room and it's all dark, but he can it just actually sort of triggers almost like some sort of PTSD in him, some sort of stuff that's going on in his head, and it could easily have gone a bit hokey, a little bit cliched, but I think Pike there really, really handles that very, very well, and Nick turns into a really interesting character, and actually gets a fair brunt of kind of some of the bad stuff happening, with sort of the Rock always on his case, but then his friends don't really help him either. There's that scene in the pool where it just feels like he's being ganged up, and all his friends are almost kind of going, "Hey,
they
off,
don't.
It's like, but it's like, hang on, this was like 5 guys against one in the pool, and it felt, his character felt very real to me, more real. Not that the others didn't, but he was one I think that just had that little bit more emphasis and believability to him, which I really enjoyed. He's definitely a really interesting. He's more interesting to me than Michael. I would have liked to see more from his point of view. But yeah. And Sarah obviously was fantastic. Yeah.
Sarah. Oh, how about you, Nerissa? Whose arc did you like, or character, your favourite character?
Honestly, I don't think, because I'm so familiar with it, I don't know if I could say which arc I liked most specifically from just this book. I don't think I could.
Yeah. Did you have a favourite character, maybe overall, without giving too many spoilers, maybe?
I like them all for different reasons. I mean, I always adored Sarah. I mean, I've never hidden this. I love
She's
Sarah. I always have. But it's hard because I'm so familiar with the. I think of the story as a whole rather than parts.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that's fair to say, to be honest, especially if you've read the whole trilogy.
Like I say, Nick's great.
Yeah.
And Christopher Pike did actually say at some point that he really wished he'd pushed more for like a bit more like racial inclusion in different things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll get onto that topic later. But he's great. I think they all develop. I think Nick's development's great, and I think I know John said he really doesn't, or did both of you say you didn't like Jessica?
But, yes.
I wasn't a fan. I think I dislike her. I just thought some of the other girls are more interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
I think on the whole, I think Jessica and Polly have really. It's hard because it's really hard to
you're trying not to give the spoilers. I really appreciate that you're not trying to give the spoilers.
It's hard to separate them.
Well, for me, like I loved Sarah, and I totally agree about Nick. I found myself when Nick's chapters were there, or from his point of view, I really was enjoying those. But out of intrigue, and obviously I haven't read the other 2 books, but only 3 people have seen Clark, right? So Alice, Polly and Michael have seen Clark, and Mike's encounter is like really awkward. So there's something up with Clark, and I'm like, I'm intrigued in that arc.
Didn't Jessica
did she? Maybe. But I'm just intrigued because I'm like, we don't get to know much about him in this book, just this mysterious thing at the football game and references to him. So I'm a bit like, oh, I'm intrigued by that arc just to see where that goes, if it goes anywhere, because obviously I don't know, because I haven't read the other books. But yeah, so that intrigued me a little bit. But yeah, love Nick. I just love Nick so
But I think
much.
he's deliberately layered, and it's interesting you pick on something like Clark. I think he's deliberately laying things that you're going to sit there and say, is this a red herring or not? Because is this so obvious? And that's what it comes down to, cleverness at the end of the first book, where he literally recounts and places everybody where they are in the house, and their relative relations to the rooms and stuff. So you do sit there and kind of go, well, because like I said, there's 14 characters to keep track of, and actually it's quite difficult to keep track of not just who they are, but how they have interacted and intersected with the other characters in the book, which is really important. So yeah, you do look at it. I just felt myself sort of the first time I read it questioning everybody, going, my mind flipped to every single person in the story, a dozen times each time throughout the books.
Yeah, that's a sign of a good book, though, definitely. Jason said, I got a bit behind on the comments, but Jason said, yes, the map. He does that with Remember Me as well. And Lisa said, yes, Shelley, I appreciated the map. I just thought it was so good to put it where he put it, or where the publisher put it. I thought it was really good timing. Matthew says, I love books that have maps and materials in them, definitely. Karen said, I love that concept of setting up his chessboard of events. Yeah, Jason said, Pike writes excellent characters. Matthew said there were a little PG-13 Bret Easton characters without the drugs. I could see some of these kids moving into the less than zero universe after they graduated high school. And yeah, Jason said definitely written as a trilogy. Autumn said, oh, this is so juicy, I can't wait to read the rest. Yeah, Annie, I can't wait. Matthew said, so Russ really is going to keep on going on about that damned axe back until he gets it back. He was obsessed with that axe, wasn't he?
And also not quite twigged yet that it wasn't Sarah he was talking to, it was Polly.
Yeah.
I feel like those paper April said, I feel like those paper cups Polly kept wanting Alice to get is going to come back round too. Me too. I think that as well. I'm with you there, April. My theories are always wrong though, so don't listen to me. Jason said, I like the way Pike drops little odd bits throughout. The way Nick smells something familiar when he goes into the dark bedroom. Oh yeah, because smell is such like a heightened sense in those situations. Yeah. And Jason said, did you call Michael a wet wipe?
I did.
Something like that,
John. Matthew said, I think if the date hadn't been such a disaster, so this is talking about Jessica and Michael, they might have figured it out, but the date threw everything out of the water after Sarah and Russ turned up. Yeah. Teddy said, love Nick, best character in my opinion. Lisa said, love Nick. Sarah was so much fun. Matthew said, love Sarah. Let's just not have a homecoming. It's the way she just goes in there and says it. You can just imagine their faces like, Autumn said, I really liked it when Nick and The Rock were fighting in the pool and Bubba took off his swimming shorts and threw them to Nick. A win for Bubba. Yeah, definitely. Claire said, Clark is intriguing, but I also find Polly suspicious. Me too. Saying she didn't invite Clark, then remembering she did. I love those little red herrings. You can see Pike's skill in storyline development. Yeah. And Matthew said, Polly reminds me of Barbara from Stranger Things. Oh, interesting. Claire said, I'm wondering if the smell was blood as it triggered his flashback. Was Alice already dead, maybe? Ooh, yeah, I'm liking these theories. I love it. So obviously Pike was writing at a time when the world saw race and sex like somewhat differently than we do now. And even if it's commendable for a young adult novel, as we've said, that was published 35 odd years ago, to have a black character as a main character essentially. So do you think he was successful in this book or even in other books at creating those diverse range of characters, Jessie?
I think he tried. I think he
Yeah.
really tried during his career to include more diversity, especially in his later books. Did it work? I don't know, not necessarily, but I have to commend him because he tried. I don't think that these are his own opinions or his points of view. Like I said, this is how rich white kids in the late 80s would talk and look down on people. I grew up in Southern California, so talking from personal experience.
Yeah.
But, I mean, compared to his peers, again, he was writing a lot more diverse characters.
Yeah.
Later on, he writes gay characters. He tries to tackle diversity, especially in those later Remember Me books, which are terrible. But again, he tried. I
Yeah.
have to give him credit, especially for late 80s, early 90s,
Yeah.
trying to include these characters.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, John? Do you think he did well with the diverse range of characters?
Yeah, I remember at the time YA books were very white. They were kind of
Hmm.
bland and white, and you certainly didn't feel that you ever got that much diversity in things like Fear Street or Point Horror. They always
Yeah.
felt very kind of middle class
Yeah.
white, which and very focused towards female readers, which probably was the market at the time. I can't really speak to how authentic, someone like Nick necessarily is,
Yeah.
because, I'm still coming at it from, a white guy that grew up in Northwest England. I didn't have any real
Yeah.
relative experience. But what I can say is that he created in my head with Nick and some of the other characters, who came from backgrounds that I was not familiar with, at least some sort of understanding of where they were coming from, or some sort of sense that this was reasonably authentic. Despite my limited knowledge of those areas, I was reading it as I grew up in this sort of closeted gay teen reading these books. So sometimes there was the odd tinge of homophobia in Pike's book. Sometimes, speaking from the character, and as Jessie said, I don't think that was coming from him. But I think he did a much better job of actually trying to authentically represent a wider range of teenage voices, that kind of diversity of thought, that sort of diversity of experience, of the sort of socioeconomic experience, which brought different elements to the characters. I think he definitely tried to do that, and any of the problematic stuff in his books was no different to any of the problematic stuff that was popping up in any of the other YA books. I just think he was coming at it with a slightly better take on it, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I credit him for at least trying to introduce, and not just the characters, the themes. Again, abortion comes up in this, and that's come up as a theme a couple of times in his books. As a theme, in somewhere like Whisper of Death, and it's come up in a couple of other things as well. So again, he was talking about stuff that I was amazed when I was 15. I was like, God, I didn't even know we could talk about this in a YA book. So it wasn't just the diversity of the characters, it was the diversity of the subjects. Nothing particularly seems taboo. I don't think there's any, he's done drugs in his books, he's done abortion, he does sex, horny Pike. And this is Pike's horniest. He's very, very horny in this one. So yeah, just the diversity of that kind of what it was like to be a teenager, and that just circles back to what we were all saying at the start, and that he felt authentically mature, and that's what I think it all boils down to with his characters, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. How about you, Nerissa? Did you think that he gave us a diverse range of characters, or even in general in other books?
Well, I think when I first read these, I was 14-year-old white girl growing up in a very small town in Scotland, so I certainly wasn't and I'm not even now in any position to speak on the experience of a teenage, black kid in late 80s LA. But I think, he did say, like I said, he did later say, like, he wished he'd done better, that he'd done more. And like Jessie said, I don't think these are his views. It's sort of, it's how, these well-off white kids would say, like, when Jessica meets him at the party, she's in her monologue, you hear like that she's heard completely contradictory things about him. And I think that's fine. I think John said, sorry, excuse my brain fog.
It's okay.
That like it is mentioned that he's black like
all the
so
time.
many times, and it's sort of like
time.
I think it is dated, but it's not done in the best way. But he at least tried, and like I don't know how much it was being done in like best-selling teen fiction at that time. Like I've heard it said that even books where the main character was black or Asian or non-white, that the book cover would have a white person on the front. I mean, look at like we did Stranger with My Face.
Yeah,
she was Native American, but on the cover it's always a white girl.
Yeah, definitely. They
So it's not the best, but I think he certainly at least tried.
Yeah,
and maybe it's not the best, but like I said, I was like 14-year-old girl in the middle of nowhere in Scotland, and that opened my eyes to like that was probably the first time that I'd read about like the systemic differences in society, and and the stuff with Maria.
with Maria.
So maybe it was a bit. It wasn't done the best, but it certainly opened my eyes a little bit. So like, it's definitely flawed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
He didn't. I don't think he meant any ill by it.
It's like you could say product of its time, definitely. Like reading it now, obviously I've read a couple of reviews like after I'd read it, and I know there's two camps of issues I think with the book, with like the misogyny that goes on, and obviously the race, the fat shaming and weight ideals and things like that in there. So there was a lot of people, when I've read reviews, they do pull up on that.
People forget what it was like.
Yeah, that's
living
what I mean.
that time though. I mean,
exactly.
You're a teenager, and I guess like Shelley, a little bit older than me, but like being a teenager, early 20s in the early 2000s, even in the early 2000s, like it was like hideous and awful. It's like
in the 2000s, definitely.
Like it's not great, but that's just how it
kind of was back then.
It's not. I'm not saying that excuses it.
No,
but it was just sort of. I don't know. I don't know why all these books had such a fixation on describing everybody's bodies. That way, but I mean, and very certain Bubba's described as being a bit larger.
Bubba
is. He's never described the way like poor Polly is.
No.
And I always got the impression that Polly wasn't even that big. She was just
not.
I don't even like saying that big.
No.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
And the comments came from her friends as well. There's an awful comment where one of her friends says, she says, I'll wake up in the morning and you'll still have a fat ass or something like that. And I'm like, you're supposed to be her friend. I mean, that might have been realistic, but I can imagine how damaging that would be when you're reading that as a kid. That's to reinforce those kind of stereotypes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just thought Matthew put, I think Nick's storyline was timely because it coincided with Public Enemy releasing their first huge album, which kind of started the dialogue about race relations for a lot of young black people back then. Oh, interesting. So you put the point of view of black young men moving through a very white, affluent world. So true.
I just saw Melina said, like, the fat shame is definitely a choice regardless of time period. And yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think it absolutely wasn't necessary. And it's sort of like one of those things where I always sort of skim over it, just sort of like, oh, that's, you know,
Yeah, I kind
anyone
of
who's
skim a little bit on that.
familiar
I
with
have to
like
say.
anyone who's read Stephen King will know, like sometimes he says like really gross things where he's just like, right, I'm skimming over that.
Yeah.
I do. It's definitely overemphasized, but I don't know if maybe like the mentions on Polly's body are to emphasize a difference later on. But either way,
Okay.
like it's not good,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be happening. But also, yes, these comments are coming from a friend. What I can say is, I don't know, maybe other people wouldn't agree with me, but often, like, the worst things that I've heard have been from other adolescent girls.
Yeah.
See, I'm not an adolescent girl now, but like
No.
often the worst things I heard were from other
Yeah, that's
contemporaries
true.
rather than the male
Yeah.
that I knew.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Jason said, I think Pike writes what he knows. Most of his characters are young white kids because Pike himself is white. So most of his stories are set in OC or further out in affluent desert communities. So Jason says, not exactly bastions of racial diversity. Oh, giving me the hard words there, Jason. I was like, don't want to butcher that one up. April said,
I will say, I was just going to say
gone.
the Maria stuff is really timely with everything that's
Yeah,
going on in the United States right now.
definitely. Yeah.
And growing up in LA with a lot of diversity and being a white kid that didn't grow up with a lot of money, I grew up with a lot of kids that didn't look like me. So that Maria stuff hit really hard, especially with
Yeah.
some of it, I'm reading 35 years later, and it's like, well, the more things change, the more they remain the same.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that still
Yeah.
just registers across the board with
Yeah.
Nick, with Maria and her parents. I mean, even like the fat shaming and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
some of it still felt pretty timely.
Yeah.
But even sorry, go on, Nerissa, you go.
No, I was just going to say, Stargazer, is that Matthew? I'm sorry if I'm
Matthew.
getting,
Yeah, Matthew.
like these kids would have been saying far worse about like poli size and stuff. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
actually, it's like, I remember being even like first year of secondary school, so being like 11, 12, like I was one of the girls that wasn't stick thin, and anyone that
Yeah,
wasn't stick
same.
thin, you were called fat.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
were fat.
same.
You were lumped in. It didn't matter. Like, of course, it doesn't. Like, who cares? But it was like it didn't. It didn't matter. I knew a girl, and she was thin. She was thin, and but she got lumped. Like someone, I don't know if someone said she was like overweight or something, which she wasn't. And
Yeah.
then I remember coming back to school one year, and she was stick thin, and it was like terrifying. It was a bit
Yeah.
like it's like,
Yeah.
what have you done? Like,
So
poor
harsh.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just awful, isn't it? But I was going to say how, like, with what Jessie was saying and what you were saying, Nerissa, like, how awful is it that we're saying, like, in respect of Maria, for example, that these things are still going on, like, even now? You'd like to think that the world had moved on, but no.
Yeah.
We're
No, I
still
think
saying these things are going on, and it's just,
we're
that's
cyclical.
scary.
We're cyclical. Like, cyclical.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain today. Sorry.
It's okay.
I've like absolutely not been with it the past few days, but I didn't want to. I didn't
No,
want to
it's
miss
all
this.
right. Oh, don't worry, Nerissa. No.
And I think, yeah, we go in circles
Yeah, we do. We go in
consistently, and
circles.
I can't remember what made me think this, but like so often you'll see someone reference like speaking about something and saying this was so far ahead of its time, and I remember thinking to myself, not this, but saying
No.
something.
Something else, yeah.
And I found myself wondering, like, when we say that, is it because we're not? Oh, sorry, my brain. Is it rather than like it actually being ahead of its time? It's a case of like how far we haven't come.
Yeah,
like, you know, when
that's
people
true.
say, like, I think it was someone talking about Jane Eyre, and like saying,
Ah,
"Oh, it's really ahead of its time." It's like, well, if we're saying that's ahead of its time, like, surely that like, isn't it more a reflection of how far we haven't come?
yeah, that's so
I
true.
don't know.
So
I
true.
don't know. I don't know if I articulated that at
No,
all.
no, you
Hopefully, people know
did.
what I mean.
I totally understand
Because
that, and
surely,
that's kind of what I was saying. Like the same thing. Like
if
it's
something
just
written a couple of
crazy
hundred years
that.
ago or however long,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like, surely we
definitely.
should be. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, we
we
should
should
be
be.
further forward than we are now. Is what we're saying, shouldn't we? Really?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah. I saw April
It
said
wasn't
my.
ahead of its time. We're behind our time.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand. April said my gripe with the way he writes diverse characters is he really leans into the stereotypes, but he was definitely doing more than other authors at the time. Yeah, definitely. Claire said, I think the obsession with bodies is what sold magazines and media. That's so true. So I guess it's why it was so prominent in fiction. And Lisa said the 90s was all about the supermodel and the image, so it was definitely the views during the time. It was everywhere, magazines, radio, TV. Yeah, that's so true, definitely. And
Sorry,
Claire said,
sorry.
go on.
No, I was just going to comment on like what Claire has said.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think because she put, sorry, I'm really sorry for interrupting. Sorry.
No, it's okay, don't worry.
Like, I think 90s authors are guilty of using appearance to create negative views of the characters, and I think that is something.
Yeah.
I think Melina. Sorry, I don't. Is it Melina or Melena? I've heard it said both
Melena.
ways. So I apologize for like gets on my nerves when
That's
people say
okay.
mispronounce names. But in one of our buddy reads, we were talking about how sort of negative things, whether it's body type or if someone has like a physical, something physical, and like they're the villain, or like
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
things get used, and then it's like stereotype. Sorry, my brain. Like
Yeah, I know
stereotype,
what
but
you
it's something
mean.
that
It does
a
sometimes,
trope, a trope
yeah,
that
it
just
becomes
gets
like a
used.
trope.
And then
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know if it's even necessarily intentional because it gets so used so often that you don't even, it's not even conscious that you're
Yeah.
using it like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, my brain's gone. Sorry.
No worries,
But
no
you know what I
problem.
mean? Like, if someone like, oh, that person is just deceptive or something, or because they've got a scar on their face or something, and like these really
Yeah. It
like
is.
still using these really ancient tropes that it's sort of like, no, they're actually quite
Yeah.
harmful. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe some authors don't care, but I think some of it's maybe not even a conscious decision.
No, that's true. That's very true.
Hopefully that made sense. So sorry. I'll shut up
I've
now.
That's all right. I saw that Sharon said beauty standards are still as oppressive. People are just more sneaky about it. So yeah, that sums it up really, doesn't it? April said, Jessie, I grew up in primarily Mexican town, to in SoCal, and I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I no, just to quickly add to kind of, and just again reading these Pike books speak to me as an former Angelino, LA kid. But I grew up in going to more of like a poorer elementary school. So I was actually the minority, and then middle school, and middle school for us is about 11 to 13, and that's that peak time when kids are really truly awful to each other.
Yeah.
But so we all moved over to the rich white school. So I was like, okay, I can relate to some of these kids in these Christopher
Mm,
Pike books that are getting moved over to, like, the rich white school. So now I have to
yeah.
have this kind of completely different experience. So I do sympathize with, the way that he writes some of these characters, because I really think he's trying. Yes, he is sticking to kind of like tropes and formulas and archetypes, but I
Mm,
have to commend him, and that's what I always saw with Pike compared to a
mm,
lot of his other peers, was that he was at least trying to kind of
yeah.
tackle these heavy subjects.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I saw Jason put, I would disagree that Pike leans into the stereotypes, but he often chooses teen archetypes for his
Hmm.
side characters. So this is something we often see in teen books, TV, film. That's so true. Matthew said as well, sadly, there's a concerted, I can't speak, effort in this country, in the US, to try to re-normalise the horrible things that used to be okay to say. So it's sickening and sad, and more than anything scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely agree with that. And Lena put as well, yes, disability and body difference is so often used as an antagonist trope, which is what Nerissa was saying. Yeah, it really is. So talking about like stereotypical people, or maybe characters we didn't like. So I'm wondering whether this is going to be unanimous. Oh, whatever that word. Oh dear, I need to like eat a dictionary. Which is there a character in this that you didn't like, or that you just was like, oh, just typical character, John?
Um, there wasn't actually anybody that I disliked because he wrote all of them so well that you kind of enjoyed spending time with them. In that way, sometimes when you're watching a TV show and there might be kind of three or four different story arcs, and one of the story arcs you're like, oh, I can just fast forward this one, and I don't really
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
There wasn't really anyone like that. I guess I didn't. Bubba got on my nerves a little bit because,
Mm,
but then obviously with the foresight of what's to come as well, I have a different view of Bubba from the
Hmm.
start of the book to the end of the book.
oh, interesting.
He was definitely painted at the start of the book as kind of some very just kind of annoying guy that everyone just didn't want around them. But you can definitely
Mm,
see it's masking something. It's masking, some sort of insecurity or something. So it's very much a front. So I warmed to him a little bit more by the end of the book. So he would have been the character that I probably would have, if he was in my school, I probably would have avoided him. But I
yeah.
warmed to him a little bit more at the end of the book. But I think that's a testament to Pike in that he doesn't create characters in this book that you actually don't like. Because I think he wants you
Mm,
to not want any of them to be involved in this atrocious crime. Where if he painted
mm,
somebody that was so unlikable, that it would just make it really easy for you to go, that's obviously them. So
yeah.
Bubba was probably the one that annoyed me, I guess, the
Yeah.
most.
But I guess, yeah, that's how he's written. He's meant to be,
Hmm.
a little
Yeah,
bit annoying, isn't
still
it?
redeeming qualities. Yeah,
Yeah.
he'd be into Bitcoin and crypto now. I think he was working the stock markets or something, but he'd be definitely be
Yeah.
into Bitcoin and crypto these days. So he'd probably be a little bit more annoying these days. I think he'd be definitely be a bit more annoying.
Definitely. Oh, how about you, Jesse? Is the character that you didn't gel with or you didn't enjoy reading?
Um, I think the only one who really annoyed me was Cats, and just because Cats just
Oh,
really did feel kind of like a
cats.
stereotype archetype. Like there's really no character there. He's just that personality to just kind of fit in with the story. He doesn't really have a fleshed out character or anything.
Mm,
I think Bubba is really interesting. You kind of love to hate him, but
mm,
he's this computer genius with elevated palate. He's sitting there
yeah.
with his like fancy Indian food. So I just there's some like
Oh,
weird there's
yeah.
like the weird like kind of character notes with some of these characters where he just kind of drops this stuff in. So Bubba I actually kind of like because he's really interesting. He clearly has a lot of layers to
Oh,
him.
yeah.
I mean, you love to hate him, right? Because he's still a
Yeah.
sexist pig. But
Definitely.
I think Katz was the only one who just felt like a archetype to me, just didn't have any really
Mm.
like character development or personality.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. How about you, Nerissa? Was there anyone you didn't enjoy reading?
I think I pretty much agree with what the guy said because,
Yeah.
like, Bubba's annoying as hell. I do feel like Pike maybe thought he was a bit more charming than he is, but like, say there is a front, and having read the whole trilogy, something to be said, and someone saying like, "Oh, they hated the Rock," and
Right. I mean, we all hate The Rock, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the same with how everything ties up mystery-wise. I think we get some sort of arc and understanding of all of these characters by the end.
Ah.
We understand
Yeah.
why they've behaved as they have by the end of the trilogy. I think he gave everyone. I mean, obviously, you can't give everyone as big an arc as like the main five.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think we get a better understanding of them all.
Oh,
Yeah, would you agree, guys?
okay. I'm interested, definitely.
By the end, or
you think? Do you think Jesse and John? Yeah,
other
by the
than maybe
end.
not Kat because he's a bit of a nothing character, but the rest of
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, because I found it. Oh, sorry. Go on. You go.
I was just going to say, it is actually really difficult to talk about it in terms of giving stuff
I can
away.
imagine. I know. I'll give you a hard task. You're doing so well, all of you.
Because,
honestly.
But again, because it is so layered, and there's stuff that happens in the last few pages of the book, or at least in the party scene, that even I'd forgotten about. And when I read them again, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of important, like character stuff that happens. So it's actually really difficult to talk about how the characters progress and how things change without giving too much away.
You're doing very well, all of you. Honestly, you are definitely. But I was going to say though, I can't remember who mentioned it now, but about the layers of the characters, because I was really shocked with Rock's character. Obviously, I hated the Rock, like, bleh, get in the bin. But then there was this whole scene of him talking about how he volunteers in the ghetto for doing charity stuff, I guess. And I was like, oh, that was a layer for him that I never thought that would be there. And it really surprised me. So I did wonder where that was going to go in the next book, if it went anywhere at all. But yeah, I was really surprised at that. It just took me a little bit. I had to go back and just read it again to make sure that I was reading about the right character. I was like, whoa.
I think by that point, Pike had made him out to be so obnoxious and just so unlikable that there was just something there that, and also that kind of slight reconciliation with Nick and trying to redeem himself a little bit. So it was a surprise, because you're like, oh, I actually didn't expect that. I don't know how real that felt to me. It did feel a little bit kind of forced, because nothing before that giving you the indication that this guy had any kind of empathy at all for anybody else and was just a bit of a meathead. So yeah, but I liked that there was an attempt there to humanize him a little bit, and he wasn't just like butting heads with Nick all the time.
It took me like by surprise. I was really shocked. I saw April said Katz was unlikable. Yeah. Matthew said I didn't like the Rock at all from the first time he called Nick a boy. I hated him, and I cheered when Polly threw chlorine in his face. I mean, yes. Go Polly with her chlorine.
She wasn't messing, jeez.
Oh, that must have stung. Oh,
it melted his eyeballs.
Yeah. Oof.
I did a little cheer at that point. Like, whoop, 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 whoop. Matthew said there was always a rock in every school. There are rocks in mine, and they made my life hell for being a goth and gay too. So I have to have it out for the rocks of the world. Yeah, definitely. Elena put, although this book wasn't for me, I'm really appreciating all the knowledge you guys have. Yeah, it's brilliant. Matthew said I didn't believe one word that he said about working in that ghetto, the Rock, I mean. Oh, okay. And Claire said I was trying to find out why Russ was so appealing to both Sarah and Polly. Yeah, that's very true. Is that a mystery that ever gets solved? We'll see. So obviously I've just realised we've been talking a very long time, but I've just got a couple more questions, and I will let you have your evenings or mornings. So obviously, there's a few great lines of dialogue in the book. I know John has a particular favourite that he wants to share, and I've been like waiting in anticipation to hear it. Tell me, John.
So this, and actually, I did find like several others, but because this one stuck with me so much, um, and it just kind of, I think it just sums up kind of some of the things that we were talking about,
Yeah.
and it's on page 26. It's very early in, and I think Pike here just
Oh.
lays the ground here for exactly what you're going to expect. But the line is, Cindy Fossmeyer had huge breasts. They were so huge they fairly blotted out any personality she might have had. And I was drinking a cup of tea, and I literally spat my tea out when I read that. half in absolute shock, and half in just laughing, because it was just so ridiculous. But I just thought, if you can slip a line like that into a teen book, I think you've laid out the groundwork and staked your claim very well about where this is going to go. I just couldn't believe that line. Even in '88, I couldn't believe that line.
Oh, did you have a favourite line that you noticed, Jessie? Or I know it's quite a unique. No, nothing stuck out.
Not really. But to what John was saying, Pike is the boobs and butts author. He, his teenagers are very horny. His teenagers are having sex and doing drugs. And so yeah, there's boobs and butts in his books. He slips it in every single time.
So many breasts.
So many.
Oh, how about you, Nerissa? Did you have a favourite line at all that stuck out to you?
I don't know. I
have got one of mine.
Certainly a lot of Sarah's dialogue stands out to me.
Dialogue.
But no, I was just thinking it's not necessarily a line, but I was thinking when I was like doing a quick reread today, like as much as Sarah like will blow up at someone and speak her mind, like when they're at the cinema and she realized like she's been going off at Russ, and the second she realizes, oh, Jessie set this up, you didn't want to be like, she immediately apologizes.
Yeah,
and that I think that's some, like she's not afraid to go, you know what?
Yeah,
I made it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then he takes his shirt off in the truck and puts it on the seat so she doesn't get her dress dirty, and then she just sits there gawping at his pecs.
That whole scene.
They've all got pecs.
I love that scene. I did think it was good.
And speaking of like why they find him so appealing, sometimes when you're a teenage girl, it's just that person's hot. You know what? You see these like douchey, like oh that makes me cringe aspects of their personality, but you're like, no, that doesn't bother me because they're really hot.
That's so true. Oh dear. I had a line that I was drinking, I don't know, a cup of tea or something at the time, and it's not even like that funny, but it just made me laugh. So it's when they're at the game, and obviously Bubba is trying to ask Claire out. So obviously he's saying saying all these things, and he goes, I love your hair up like that. You should wear it like that all the time, even when you're taking a shower. And then it says Claire played with one of her ponytails and says, if I did that, I'd get my ribbons wet. And I don't know why, it just made me laugh, because I think my mind just went in a bit of a dark place at that point, and I was like, is it a euphemism? I'm unsure. Is she actually talking about ribbons?
I think basically all of their dialogue between each other is quite euphemism. We've both had moments this week where we've suddenly nearly choked.
Honestly, like I had to read it again. I was like, oh my gosh, that's just classic, that is, because I could just imagine how Claire said that as well, while she's twiddling a little ponytail as well at the same time. Oh, so funny.
That's something. Sorry, I was thinking, like, so many of the interactions feel very just accurate to teenage life. I know it's all emphasized and stuff, but like the fact that Claire is obviously like a bit flirty with Bubba and like kind of like charmed by him in some way, but the second they're at the party and around the football team, she's like, oh no, like so much of it.
Very Pretty in Pink.
I don't know, there were so many moments where I was like, that feels quite true to my life in life.
And did you say Very Pretty in Pink, John?
Yeah. Now he was like very happy to like hang around with her, and then was kind of slightly embarrassed by her.
Yeah,
as well.
No, that's true. So Matthew said, yeah, Russ probably takes the dishes out of the sink before he pees in it. That's what that shirt and the truck seat thing said.
I don't know. I think Russ was probably quite hot. I think he's probably the hottest guy.
I was like, I kind of got a thing for Russ. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's problematic, right?
To me was like, yep. I don't know. I just imagined him being this really hot runner, like.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And
Jason...
just sort of like, I don't know, just his interactions with Sarah, like.
Yeah. There was something about him, definitely.
Something about Russ.
Jason said, yes, Pike writes teen characters very accurately. Melanie said, Pretty in Pink, yay! So just a couple more questions. So obviously the book's heading towards the party finale, which I think we're getting about the last, say, 50 pages, probably 40. So what did you think? So once we got to the party scenes, obviously we touched on it a little bit earlier. Did you like that whole build up to the death? Because I'll be honest with you, having not read it before, I wasn't entirely sure who was going to die. Like, it kept me guessing. I was like, I had a thought it might be Alice. I thought it might be Alice, but then I was like, oh, no, wait, maybe it might be Jessica or someone. I wasn't sure until it actually happened. So did you like the whole build up to not the build up to the party, when we finally got to the party, Jessie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the meat and the bones of the story. I mean, he's just setting everything up for this final act. And so, but rereading it, knowing that it's Alice, he does set that up for you because you get that, feels like a horror movie trope, right? Where somebody's going to get killed and then they have this sort of impassioned speech, or there's this really kind of sweet moment with the character, or with like a sweet interaction between characters before one of them gets killed. So it's but I also liked the placement of everything. I mean, the map is really helpful, but just again, all the pieces are moving around on the board, and so you're just waiting for something to happen. So yeah, absolutely, best part of the book.
Yeah. How about you, Nerissa? Did you like that whole party scene and the vibe there as soon as we got there? In the end?
I thought it was well done, but like I was thinking about this when you sent over the questions. I don't recall ever not knowing that it was out.
Oh, wow!
Like the edition,
sure.
The edition that I read, it was like the last edition that was done. So I don't know if it had a different blurb that said it was her, or if it's that I maybe read the back of the second one. Like I got like I said, like excited, like got the book from the bookshop, and like I don't know if I read, but I don't recall ever not knowing that it was out. I feel. I mean, I don't recall ever not knowing.
To be honest, I am a little bit thick, because on the front of my cover is a blonde girl, which does probably resemble how Alice is described a little bit, although she's in a party dress, and they find the body, she's the wrong way around, the body was facing upward. Anyway, not accurate. But yeah, I probably should have guessed it, really, to be fair, but I'm rubbish at these things. How about you, John? Did you ever remember not guessing or not knowing it was going to be Alice?
I don't recall that I knew who it was going to be, but I do recall that I wasn't surprised when it was Alice. But the party, he just sets it up so well. It's a classic Agatha Christie. You know, it's just kind of the first 2/3 of the book has been moving everybody around in these different bits, and then he gets them all to this one location. And then you've got this build up where he's almost kind of like daring, he's like, I'm going to give you one last opportunity to try and work out what's going on here and see what's going to happen. And then bam, it kind of happens. And I think I said it before, I think it was a really good choice to have Nick be the person that found, because he takes you on this kind of POV running commentary. And I remember in my head, I was like, this is so convoluted. And when I was a kid, I drew out, I hadn't got as far as the map bit in the book, so I didn't know there was a map. And I drew out, because I was trying in my head to work out where the rooms were, because I was absolutely obsessed with trying to crack this. I was trying to work out, and I didn't. I actually did not, didn't work out at all. But I liked the fact that he puts all these pieces together, gets everybody in the one place, and then gives you this kind of final opportunity to kind of make your guess, as it were, and then it all happens. And what I thought was interesting was that, you know, he could have just ended that on the murder, but he doesn't. He does. There's this huge epilogue at the end of it as well, which is actually longer than some of the chapters, which kind of reiterates and goes over it all again, and then you get a recap at the start of book 2. So he really wants to kind of labour this kind of locked door mystery element of it. You know, you're sitting there going, who was it in the room? Who we could hear the bed springs going? Who was it who was crying? How come that door was locked? There was no one in the bathroom. How could they got past me? Who wasn't there? I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called Clue, but it reminded me a little bit of that, which is Clue's one of my favourite films. But this kind of ridiculous dynamic where you're trying to work out who wasn't in the room with us, who was there.
Flames!
The flames!
So my Tim Curry, so I love a mystery as well. I grew up reading Agatha Christie books, so I love a mystery anyway. And this is kind of a really nicely done mystery. I'm not quite sure whether everyone will agree with the way it pays off, but I think I think it's certainly he sets it up really well. So I love the vibe. It felt like the book suddenly revved up to 100 miles an hour then.
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing like you guys all say like that you didn't know who was going to die, because that kind of means you had a very different experience reading it than I did, because I knew right from the start it was Alice. So you were maybe like trying to guess like who was going to die, whereas I read it and like, oh, this is a really tragic, sad, this poor girl. I was reading her knowing, oh,
you
she's
knew
not
that
gonna
she
live.
was,
I don't know, but it must have brought like quite a different vibe to the whole thing.
Yeah, because I was like, I have to say, I thought Jessica was going to die at some point. That's who I thought was going to die.
Or Sarah.
Or Sarah, yeah.
She was the loudmouth.
That would have been unforgivable.
Jessica fits that kind of 80s trope, sort of the pretty popular girl, the new girl in school. So maybe we did have different sort of POVs reading it.
Matthew said about Russ that we're all just trying to change him.
Change him. I can fix him.
I don't want to fix him. I like him how he is.
Autumn said I wasn't sure who would die, but Alice was so sweet. I should have guessed it would be her. Oh, me and Autumn were the same. We went through it thinking, who's it going to be? Matthew said the build up to the death had a very Truman Capote in cold blood descriptiveness to it. I need to put my teeth back in. It was a very surprising turn in the writing. Matthew said, in my mind, it played with absolutely no sound at all. Yeah. So when Nick was walking down there, except maybe Nick's breathing as he walked through the hallway. Oh yeah, that's so good. Claire said, I sensed with Alice's withdrawal and obvious turmoil that she was heading to a dark end, and I didn't think it would be at this point or her death. I more leant towards her being a surprise killer. A surprise killer? Whoa. Oh dear. So should I tell you like who I think it is? Or like your face is gonna give it away.
Oh no, I don't know. No.
Like in the comments,
everyone has to remain expressionless. Okay.
So in the comments, like put who you think it is as well. But you're all gonna go, what the hell, Shelley? I think it's Polly. So that's all I'm going to say. I think it's Polly. And then my other theory was, because obviously I have to go too far, is that if you look at the map, there's like the two closets are together with a third bedroom. So I think that's going to come into play somehow. That the closets are connected and someone could get through to that third bedroom. But then that puts my Polly theory out because obviously she was outside. But anyway, that's my theory. Oh, April thinks Polly. Lisa thinks Polly. Matthew thinks Polly. Oh, it's not Polly then because it's too obvious. Claire thinks Polly. Oh, wow. Okay. You did so well then, not giving anything away. I'm very impressed. Clap, 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 clap. Oh, wow.
All I will say, because I've been dying to say it, there is something that happens in the bedroom which is actually very important, which isn't a spoiler yet, and I didn't pick up on this again until I was reading it again, and it flicked off in my mind, and I was like, oh yes, but it's one of those that he's laid very, very clear clues in the party scenes. And in the house and in the final paintings.
Oh, I'm so very excited to read it.
Which you will kick yourself. Which you'll kick yourself for not even registering it. Because it didn't even, at the first time I read it, it didn't even register with me. And then the second time I was like, oh yeah, I remember why that's important.
Oh wow, I'm so excited.
Poker faces.
Yes. Autumn said, I do think it could be Polly. Oh, another Polly. There's so many red herrings. Polly seemed like she was some type of jealous, because she came across quite jealous. Matthew said, I just don't know how she got up onto the second floor from being in the yard, But then Lisa said, open window in the bedroom with a ladder. So anyway, we will see. Oh, and Matthew said that wad of tangled Christmas lights kept popping up. Oh, yes, they did. That was referenced a couple of times, wasn't it? Oh, we can play detective. I love it.
Michael thought it was important. Michael's very clever, as we know.
Yes, amateur detective. Yeah, definitely.
Also, how would he like to just wander around a crime scene at the end? And like the police officer, just go in. And then Jessica's wandering in. It's like, no, everyone just come in.
No. Yeah, just come in. Oh, and just lock the door behind you. What?
Oh, yeah, just lock the door.
But then, do you know what? As well, like, I was a bit confused at the end because it made me a bit sus on Jessica, but I suspect everyone at some point. Because, like, she came in, but there's a reference that she then, when she leaves, picks up a briefcase. And I was like, did she come in with that briefcase?
She was getting clothes for Polly.
Oh, okay.
Because Polly's in the hospital.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But she could have put something in that briefcase that she shouldn't have took, evidence or something. And I'm like, suspicious. Oh, no, but guys, this has been so great chatting about this book. And I'm so intrigued to read the other two. I'm going to definitely do that. I've got a week off work coming up and I'm going to read them both.
Have us back for the others.
Yeah, so we must do the others. So what I'll do is I'll try and figure out, so we don't leave it too long, like when we could fit it in, and then we'll try and get the others done pretty soon.
Or you could also do 2 and 3 together too. I mean, that's something to think about.
The dance takes place in December.
Oh, okay. Okay, something to think about. I definitely will do them though. And like, thanks to everyone in the comments who read it, and maybe we've like intrigued you to read the other two as well if you didn't quite gel with this book. It sounds like it pays off.
It does.
So much I want to say about the characters, but I can't because it doesn't come into it until later. But like, this is, I don't know. I don't know if you've convinced people to enjoy it. But
you've done so well, Nerissa. If it was me,
it's hard without.
This is why I couldn't read the other two. I couldn't read the other two before this chat because I'd be awful. So you lot have done
blurted it out.
so well. You've done really good. But thank you ever so much. And yeah, we'll definitely do the others. I'll sort something out. And thanks to everyone for giving it a read and joining in the chat. And happy birthday for tomorrow, Autumn.
Happy birthday, Autumn.
Happy birthday, Autumn.
Yay. All right, guys. Thanks ever so much. And
thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Love you guys. Bye.
I'm off to jump in the pool.
Yeah.
With a fairy liquid in it.
Watch your pants.
Yeah, watch your baggies.
See you later, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.